Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
How's everybody doing? All right, all right, all right. Just gonna get right into it. Today's title of the lesson is, Are You an Israelite? All right. This topic was supposed to be a part 2 from last week, continue from last week, right? But when I started to do the research, it kind of turned into a separate lesson, all right? For some reason, the line in that Kendrick Lamar song where he said that I'm an Israelite, don't call me black no more, y'all might be familiar with that, all right? It came to mind, and it kind of like stuck with me, all right? I personally never heard the entire album. I just happened to hear that one particular song. So I'm thinking, here we are again, right? Another black celebrity acknowledged that he's an Israelite. And we've been seeing that for the past, I've seen it a few times since I've been in the truth, all right? 4 or 5 years ago, a rapper named Chingy, he did it. Matter of fact, he sampled Elder Ricard's voice on a song called King Judah. All right, and about 2 years ago, Brandon T. Jackson? Okay. So that type of stuff has the ability to incite us, right? Yeah, our folks are waking up, especially on the celebrity level, recognizing that they're Israel. All right? Well, because I remember what happened to Chingy, after he did the King Judah song, I'm like, okay, what's really going on when you don't bother to separate yourself from that lifestyle or the world? Because recognizing the fact that you're an Israelite, yeah, that's great. However, is that the whole story? What does being an Israelite mean? So naturally I started wondering about, and out of concern, legitimate concern about Kendrick Lamar, after a year that he did that song, especially by him being a rapper in a Jewish-owned industry, right? So that's when it all started to hit me in regards to this lesson. What does it mean to be an Israelite? Then that morphed into, like I said, the title of this lesson, Are You an Israelite? So let's pick it up at, let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 1, 1 through 6.
All right, we're in the book of Psalms, chapter 1, verse 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Most High, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.
Okay, let's find a precept on that at 2 Corinthians chapter 6, 16 through 18.
All right, we're in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 16. And what agreement have the temple of the Most High with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power. As the Most High have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Most High, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Most High Almighty.
Okay, so Israelites are supposed to be set apart from the world. Okay, now we're a nation of kings and queens, right? So still, how do we separate ourselves from the world? How do we go about doing that? Question again, are you an Israelite? And what does that really mean? Many of us have been awakened to what we commonly many of us have been awakened to what's commonly known as the knowledge of the truth. All right, that's a lot of us referred to being that, and it is the truth. We collectively found that truth in the word of the Most High, also known as the Bible and the extra books, right? Okay, now I can't knock Kendrick Lamar because that one line in that song, all right, could have provoked the brother or sister to do some research and find out the truth for themselves. All right? So that right there, to acknowledge the fact, especially when we've been dormant for so long, to acknowledge the fact that we are Israelites, that is groundbreaking and that's powerful. So we can't deny that, okay? But again, what does it mean? All right? Again, I'm not judging him, but I do know for a fact that temptation can plague a regular dude, all right, without the fame and fortune, okay? I can only imagine how much more it is with when you have money. So, yeah, he's an Israelite, but like we all know that we all are, but what are we required to do, all right? What I realized, and what we all should realize, is that it's more to it than just admitting it, okay? We have stumbled across, through various means. We stumbled across the truth, but through various means. I mean, from word of mouth or YouTube, or saw some brothers on the street corner talking about Deuteronomy 28, all right? Either way, it all links to what the Bible says, what the truth says about us, all right? So from Genesis to the Apocrypha to the book of Revelation, all right, the Bible in its entirety is a historical book of records, okay, of the Hebrew Israelites, the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, correct? Now, what is it used for? Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, 16 and 17. Because this is how we find out, study to show ourselves approved. We have to research the scriptures, right? So this is what the Bible is used for. This is what the word of God is used for. Go ahead.
It's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of the Most High may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
Okay. It's profitable for doctrine, reproof, which is also known as rebuking, okay, correction, and instructions. However, it's not as universal as most people like to believe, all right? Only the Jews, the real bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are permitted to give that proper understanding of the doctrine, instructions, corrections, and reproof. Well, I hope we all know that by now, okay? I'll say it one more time. Only the Jews, the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, are permitted to give the proper understanding of doctrine, instructions, corrections, and reproof. Now, we'll explain that statement shortly, but first let's start with studying some of the attributes of Jacob, all right? It was through the seed of Jacob that the 12 tribes sprung from, right? I hope we all know that by now also. So knowing who Jacob is key to understanding if one fits the criteria of being an Israelite. Y'all follow me? All right. So let's go to Genesis chapter 25, 20 through 23. Genesis chapter 25, verses 20 through 23.
All right. We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 20. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, and Padaran, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Most High for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Most High. And the Most High said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Okay. Jacob was born to bear the burden of adversity. Okay. I'll say that one more time. Jacob was born to bear the burden of adversity. All right. Our struggle didn't start with Deuteronomy 28. We need to understand that. Our struggle started in the womb of Rebekah. Okay? Okay. Now, we can use Deuteronomy 28 as a benchmark to help us identify who we are today, but in all actuality, our struggle started when we were in Rebekah's womb. Okay? Struggle means to contend with an adversary or opposing force. It's through struggle where strength, character, and durability are forged. Y'all follow me? So our struggle is not necessarily a bad thing. It's for a purpose. It's to prove us, just like Jacob had to be proven. Correct? All right. So let's go to Jasher chapter 26, 13 through 17.
All right, we're in the book of Jasher, chapter 26, starting at verse 13. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down and beheld there were twins in her womb, as the Most High had spoken to her. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And all the people of the land called his name Esau, saying that this one was made complete from the womb. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Therefore they called his name Jacob. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was 60 years old when he begat them. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and a expert hunter in the field. And Jacob was a man perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of the Most High and the commands of his father and mother.
You know, see that? Okay. So we see a few things that jumped out of verse 17, right? Esau was a designing and deceitful man, okay? But let's see what it says about Jacob. Jacob was a man perfect and wise and dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, learning the instructions of the Most High and the commands of his father and mother. We see a few things right there. We see what we know is the 10 Commandments, honor thy father and thy mother, right? And we see one more thing that I want to point out or want to key in on. It says Jacob was perfect, okay? Jacob was perfect. So let's go to Matthew chapter 5 right quick, verse 48. Let's get some understanding on perfect.
Okay, we're in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect.
Okay. Take notice that he didn't say be perfect like himself. Keep in mind that Christ was 100% human or in flesh when he was here, right? Okay. So he said be perfect like the Most High, okay? Now, in regards to perfection, he told us to use the Most High as an example, just like he does. Now, in the Hebrew, H8535, that word perfect means complete, okay? You can also link it with the word blameless, guiltless, peaceful, perfect one, and complete again. You got me? Okay, in the Greek, it says, that's coming out of G5046. It says, having reached its end, okay, complete, perfect in every way. Jacob was considered perfect. Y'all follow me? Okay. So, Yeshua was sent to be the perfect example of perfection inside the earth realm. Y'all follow me? Okay. During this time while he was in the flesh. Since we are in the flesh, since we're also in flesh, we too often use the human element as a crutch to uphold our sinful nature, right? If someone says nobody's perfect, my reason of thinking, or the way I answer that now, no, but I'm trying to be. That's my goal, okay? Because that's what Christ commanded us to do, okay? But we tend to lean too much on, well, nobody's perfect, so why even try? All right? So Jacob was perfect. Okay, and we know we just read that in the scriptures. All right, so to overcome this mindset, first thing that we need to do is renew our minds. Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. In order for us to understand that we are to be perfect, we need to recondition our mind to say, you know what? Let's be perfect. All right, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2.
All right, we're in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service.
Which is the very least thing that you could do. That's the very least that you could do. Okay? Read that one more time.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service.
Keep going.
And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove that what it is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High.
Okay, y'all see that? So with proper mind renewal, we are able to change our natural way of thinking, okay, and take on the mindset of Christ, okay? Through this method, we can agree that it's possible to be human and perfect at the same time, okay, because Christ did it. Y'all follow me? And that's our overall goal, to be like who? To be like Christ, all right? Now, just to give you an example of what perfection is, this very moment that we're experiencing right now is a moment of perfection. Right now, there's no sin taking place right now. This is a blameless moment. Perfection. We're talking about the word of the Most High. So from this day on, you can no longer say nobody is perfect. You're experiencing perfection right now. Huh? All right. That's mind renewal. Okay? Now, our thoughts which control our actions should be a reflection living by the laws, statutes, and commandments, okay? Which is also, when it's done through the example of Christ, which is also perfection. Y'all follow me? Okay. There is no sin involved when you're living by his laws, statutes, and commandments, okay? In spirit and in truth, in the same manner that the Messiah did. Y'all follow me? Okay. This is a principle that Jacob displayed long before Christ walked the earth. Y'all follow me? All right. So we're still talking about, are you an Israelite? And what does it take to be an Israelite? Well, let's finish going through Jacob. Now, this is why Jacob was considered to be perfect. Let's go to Joshua chapter 26, 18 through 20. It's on the board.
We're in the book of Jasher, chapter 26, verse 18. And Isaac and the children of his household dwelt with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, as the Most High had commanded them. And Ishmael the son of Abraham went with his children and all belonging to them, and they returned there to the land of Havilah, and they dwelt there. And all the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the land of the east, for Abraham had sent them away from his son, and had given them presents, and they went away.
Okay, so Isaac and his children lived with Abraham, okay, in the land of Canaan. Ishmael and his kids went to live in the land of Havilah. Remember, Ishmael was to become a nation, right? Okay, so the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the east, away from the only one that the Most High considered to be his son. Moved them away from Isaac. Okay, so it was prophesied that Abraham was to be a father of many nations. All of those nations went to another land with the exception of Isaac. Okay? So, just because, now here's something to remember, okay? Just because someone may be from Abraham, or Abraham may have been their biological father, it doesn't mean that they get the promise. Okay? Now, let's continue to find out why Jacob was perfect. Let's go to, stay in Joshua 26, 21 through 28.
All right, verse 21. And Abraham gave all that he had to his son Isaac, and he also gave him all his treasures. And he commanded him, saying, Dost thou not know and understand that the Lord is power in heaven and in earth, and there is no other beside him? And it was he who took me from my father's house and from my birthplace, and gave me all the delights upon earth, who delivered me from the counsel of the wicked, for in him did I trust. And he brought me to this place, and he delivered me from Kasdim. And he said unto me, To thy seed will I give all these lands, and they shall inherit them when they keep my commandments.
Y'all see the condition right there, right? They shall inherit them when they keep my commandments. Keep going.
My statutes and my judgments that I have commanded thee, and which I shall command them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and keep the commandments of the Most High thy power, which I commanded thee. Do not turn from the right way, either to the right or to the left, in order that it may be well with thee and thy children after thee forever. and remember the wonderful works of the Most High, and his kindness that he has shown toward us, in having delivered us from the hand of our enemies. And the Lord our power caused them to fall into our hands. And now therefore keep all that I have commanded thee, and turn not away from the commandments of thy power, and serve none beside him, in order that it may be well with thee and thy seed after thee. And teach thy children and thy seed the instruction of the Most High and his commandments, and teach them the upright way in which they should go, in order that it may be well with them forever. And Isaac answered his father and said unto him, That which my power has commanded, that will I do, and I will not depart from the commandments of the Lord my power, and I will keep all that he commanded me. And Abraham blessed his son Isaac, and also his children. And Abraham taught Jacob the instruction of the Most High and his ways.
Okay, so Abraham taught Jacob the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, right? Abraham taught it. So let's get some confirmation on some things. Let's go to Psalms 103, verse 7.
All right, we're in the book of Psalms, chapter 103, verse 7. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel.
Okay. Y'all see that, right? Unto the children of Israel. Okay, so let's go to Psalms 147, 19 and 20. So, again, these are not, we should know these, right? However, this gives understanding when you, like we said last week, when you go into the books of Jasher and Jubilees, it gives detail of what took place during the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So, when we read Psalms 147, 19 and 20, go ahead.
The book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Most High.
Now, to wrap that up, go to Romans 3, 1 and 2.
We're in the book of Romans, chapter 3, verse 1. What advantage then have a Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly, because unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High.
Okay, so we see that Abraham literally taught Jacob. Okay, and the statement was made earlier in the message, the lesson, saying that the Jew is only permitted to teach the laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? Well, now we see why, because the Most High didn't deal so with any other nation. Right? It's on us. And we see that literally. He gave the commandments to Jacob. Y'all see that? So Psalms 147, 19 and 20, that's in the literal sense. Y'all follow me? Okay. So he didn't give him to Ham or Ham's kids. He didn't give him to, now keep in mind, Noah did teach his direct children, but their kids went off. Okay, so Abraham didn't teach the children of Ham. He didn't teach the children of Japheth. He didn't deal so with any other nation. He taught Isaac and he taught Jacob. Y'all follow me? Okay, so some may wonder, well, why was Esau excluded? I mean, he was the firstborn. Let's find out. Jubilees 19, 13 through 18.
All right, we're in the book of Jubilees, chapter 19, verse 13. And in the 6th week, in the 2nd year thereof, Rebekah bare to Isaac 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob was a smooth and upright man, and Esau was fierce, a man of the field, and hairy, and Jacob dwelt in tents. And the youths grew, and Jacob learned to write, but Esau did not learn. For he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war. And all his deeds were fierce. And Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Esau. And he said unto her, My daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in my stead on the earth, and for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. And I know that the Most High will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself, above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth.
Okay, so Abraham knew that something wasn't right with Esau. He was off a little bit, all right? There's something wrong with that boy. I'm going to deal with Jacob, okay? So Jacob learned to write, but Esau did not learn. Let that sink in for a second. For he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned war. Let that marinate also, all right? Esau didn't want to learn how to write, okay? Now, now I'm not bashing anybody, but this is how Christ said we should know them by their fruits, okay? I've been in situations where I've done the diligent work and research and study and all that stuff on my job, and somebody else just take the credit for it. I ain't saying no more after that. Okay. So if he couldn't write, then one would have to ask the question, could he read? But that's probably another discussion. All right. As for Abraham, as far as Abraham was concerned, the promise could only go through Jacob, right? Let's go to Joshua 28, verse 1 and 2. Then we're going to jump down to 16 through 20. Joshua 28, verses 1 and 2. Then we're going to jump down to verses 16 through 20.
All right, we're in the book of Joshua, chapter 28, starting at verse 1. In those days, after the death of Abraham, in that year the Most High brought a heavy famine in the land, and whilst the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Isaac rose up to go down to Egypt on account of the famine, as his father Abraham had done. And the Most High appeared that night to Isaac, and he said to him, do not go down to Egypt, but rise and go to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and remain there till the famine shall cease.
Verses 16 through 20, same chapter.
Verse 16. And when the days of the famine had passed away, the Most High appeared to Isaac and said to him, rise up, go forth from this place and return to thy land, to the land of Canaan. And Isaac rose up and returned to Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all belonging to him, as the Lord commanded him. And after this, Shalach, the son of Aparashad, died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Jacob and Esau. And all the days of Shalach lived were 433 years, and he died.
Verse 18.
Yep. At that time, Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber.
Read that one more time.
At that time, Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber.
Okay.
And he learned the instruction of the Lord, and Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau, his brother, did not go, for he was not willing to go.
Y'all see that, right? Okay.
And he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan.
Okay.
And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled him. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir, the same as Edom.
Okay, so it's key right there. It says that Esau also hunted after the hearts of men, meaning that he was trying to convince them to follow his ways. Okay, characteristic traits. Okay, keep your eyes open. All right, so we see also that Esau passed up another opportunity to learn the ways of the Most High from the house of Shem and Eber. Right? That's
directly at the feet.
That's, yeah, I mean, that's like passing up a scholarship to go to a top-notch school, you know, for free. He neglected to go to the house of Shem and Eber, okay? So let's just agree that Abraham had the foresight in knowing that Esau wasn't worthy of receiving the promise. Okay? Okay. With that being said, it should be known that a great responsibility comes with being the only ones given the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And we see that it didn't go to any other nation. And we see that it didn't go to Esau, right? So let's go to Isaiah chapter 49, 5 and 6. I call this our mission statement. Mm-hmm. This represents us. These are our tasks as a nation. Isaiah 49, 5 and 6. Can you write the question down? All right. We'll deal with it at the end. Appreciate it. Isaiah 49, verse 5 and 6.
We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 5. And now saith the Most High that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Most High, and my power shall be my strength. And he said, It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
Okay, so raise up Jacob, restore the preserved of Israel, and be a light to the other nations. That's our task, to raise up our brothers, raise up the preserved, and to be that light, that beacon, that sign for the other nations to follow, right? Okay, so that's a pretty tall load of responsibilities. It's not to be taken lightly, okay? The question is Jacob worthy to take on such a task? Or will Jacob crumble because Esau is trying to kill him? Because the man is on his back. Will he just give up? Will he give up hope? Let's see what Jacob did. Let's see what our father did, okay, when pressure is applied to his life. Let's go to Genesis chapter 27, 1 through 7.
All right.
In order to understand what an Israelite is, we need to find out what Jacob did. Y'all follow me so far? Genesis 27, 1 through 7.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold, now I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Most High before my death.
Okay. Isaac was old, right? Eyesight gone. He asked Esau to hunt and prepare a meal for him, and he would bless him with what he thought was going to be Isaac's birthright. Okay? Now, we all know that Esau did what? Sold the birthright. Let's go to Jasher chapter 27, 1 through 14. Jasher 27, 1 through 14.
All right, we're in the book of Jasher, chapter 27, verse 1. And Esau at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went into the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same is Araphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field, and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day Esau went in the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they were moved at a distance from him. And they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were. When Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened and ran to Nimrod to cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod. And when they called out to him, Esau turned to them and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod who had left him to go in the wilderness heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of those two men, and they ran to know the cause of it. When they found their king and the two men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with that which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land, and he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came into his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, for it was so brought about by the Lord. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had brought from the children of Heth for possession of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Jacob. And Jacob brought all this from the brother Esau for value given. And Jacob wrote the whole of this in a book, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the book remained in the hands of Jacob.
Remember, Esau couldn't read or write. Okay, Jacob dealt with him wisely. Okay, you're gonna sell me this birthright. You know we don't like each other, so sell me this birthright, right? So that's what actually took place. Okay, and well, we're gonna find out more. Esau was running for his life, and he was hungry. Okay, so essentially he just sold his birthright to satisfy his flesh for that moment, to eat. Okay, all right. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 27. 30 through 41. Genesis 27, 30 through 41.
All right, returning to the book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 30. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that have taken venison and brought it me?
See, Jacob had already got the birthright. Okay? And if you listen to some so-called Christian sects, they will say that Jacob, and it's written in a lot of books, even when you look it up online, they say Jacob deceived Esau, or Jacob deceived Isaac, or Jacob the deceiver. That's so far from the truth. Okay? Keep going.
And brought it to me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he have supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not deserved a blessing from me? And Isaac answered and said, Behold, Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his servants have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
Keep going, man.
And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
Okay, here we go. Esau wants to kill his twin brother Jacob. All right. The irony of this particular situation is that it's not only the white man that's trying to kill him. The white man is his brother, when you really think about it. Okay? So looking at that, that's something to keep in mind today, because we need to figure out how did Jacob handle that situation and look at where we are today. Are we to continue to let society and the so-called white man hold us back as we like to think, or are we going to rise like Jacob did? Y'all follow me? Okay? So needless to say that Jacob had to endure a lot, okay? We know the outcome of this story, but what I want to put emphasis on is some of the details of what exactly he had, what he went through, okay? His brothers, Esau's wives disrespected Isaac and Jacob. And write these down, when you read Jasher chapter 29, 14 through 16, okay? Jasher 29, 14 through 16, you see that Esau's wives disrespected Rebekah and Isaac. Jasher 29, 14 through 16, okay? Not only did Esau want to kill Jacob, but he told his son to pursue and kill Jacob also. You'll find that in Jasher 29, 31 through 33. Jasher chapter 29, 31 through 33, okay? His father-in-law, we all know about that story. His father-in-law deceived him, okay? Had him work all those years for, you understand? So Jacob had to go through a lot. You'll see that in Jasher chapter 31, verses 1 through 12, okay? So Laban also sent his son to Esau to instigate a fight between him and Jacob. Okay? You'll see that in Jasher 31, 53 to 64. You follow me? Write these down, because that's your homework assignment. All right? But for some reason, Esau, as a lot of us would like to believe, Esau had a change of heart. But you'll see what really took place in Jasher 31, 27 through 40. Esau really didn't have a change of heart. Right? Esau really didn't have a change of heart. Okay. Keep in mind everyone that gave Jacob problems was his family. Think about that. Everyone that gave Jacob problem was a family member, okay? But he endured all of it, right? All he wanted to do was to learn the ways of the Most High, okay? Feed and raise the flocks. Keep that in mind. That's important. Feed and raise the flocks. Get married and have children. Now, y'all assignment, real talk, y'all got to do this. Read Jasher chapters 29 through 32 in its entirety. Okay? Jasher 29 through 32. All right? Cool? Now, all the chapters 29 through chapter 32. Okay? Now, it was mentioned earlier that through struggle is where strength, character, and durability is forged, right? Okay. What Jacob displayed while he was going through his situation was love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. The fruits of the Spirit. Well before we found out about Galatians chapter 5, 22 through 26. Right? Cool. So when you read Jasher chapters, when you read Jasher's chapter 29 through 32, you'll see that how he dealt with it. Remember, the Most High considered him to be what? Perfect, blameless. Y'all follow me? So Jacob had to go through one more thing. Let's go to Genesis chapter 32, 24 through 30. Because he handled those situations pretty much like a boss, right? I mean, everything that he went through, he prayed, fasted, prayed, sought the counsel of the Most High, didn't come out of his character not one time, and the Most High helped him out of each situation. Y'all follow me? And made it better for Jacob. Y'all cool? So but Jacob had to go through one more challenge. Let's go to, like I said, where we at?
Genesis 32.
Yeah, Genesis chapter 32, 24 through 30.
All right. We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with the Most High and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen the Most High face to face, and my life is preserved.
Okay, verse 26, I will not let thee go except thou bless me. Okay? Jacob never let go of the Most High. We're looking at the attributes of Jacob, right? Jacob had a confrontation with Christ. He met Christ. Now, we know that's not the Most High because we can't look at the Most High face and live, right? That's scripture, right? So he wrestled with Christ. And after he wrestled and dealt with Christ, that's when his name became what? So you can't really be an Israelite until you have that meeting with who? Y'all need to get that in your mind. Look at what Jacob went through. Now, we could be Israelites by blood and all that stuff, but we'll see later on through the lesson where that got us, right? Look at the Pharisees, but we're going to get into that later on, okay? But what I'm saying is Jacob didn't become a prince of the Most High until he met the Messiah. Y'all got that? Okay? So, just let's take another turn. Let's turn the page a little bit, okay? Because we understand what Jacob had to go through, which is a lot. And we said earlier that Jacob was born to bear the burden of adversity. And we're a living testament of that. Our everyday lives are a struggle. Okay, whether we come from the hood or whether we come from the suburbs, our everyday lives are a struggle. Okay? And it's that way to make us stronger. Y'all follow me? Okay, so let's take a turn for a little bit. Let's look at something that I subtitled Israelites versus the Israeli. Okay? Now, before we go any further, let's take the time to define a few things because we're about to look at exactly what it is to be an Israelite. Okay? By definition. I'll read that in red.
All right. Israelite versus Israeli. Israelites. In modern English, the term Israelite is usually confined to the people of ancient Israel, either of the kingdom of that name or, more broadly, any Jew of the biblical era.
Okay.
Israelis. Only modern citizens of the state of Israel are called Israelis. Although the term most often refers to Jewish citizens of that state, it can also to refer to Arab, Muslim, or Christian citizens of Israel.
Now, how did that happen? But we'll get into that later. Keep going.
Ish. A suffix used to form adjectives from nouns with the sense of belonging to, i.e. British, Danish, English, Spanish, after the manner of having the characteristics of, like babyish, girlish, mullish, addicted to, inclined or tending to, bookish or freakish, near or about, 50-ish or 7-ish. A suffix used to form adjectives from other adjectives with the sense of somewhat, rather, oldish, reddish, or Swedish.
Or, y'all say it.
Jewish.
Jewish. Okay? Or Jewish. All right? Reading is fundamental. Okay? Let's go to another definition.
The final another definition here. Antisemitic, a person who discriminates against or is prejudiced or hostile toward Jews.
Now, we're going to really get the full understanding of that definition in a second. But let's move on right quick. As it was stated in 2 Timothy chapter 3, all scriptures are profitable for doctrine, reproof and rebuking, correction, and instruction, which leads to the proper understanding of the word of the Most High. Y'all follow me? Okay, so let's get some understanding, all right? So if you were to ask a Jewish person, what's the worst thing that they've ever been through as a whole, they'll tell you what? The Holocaust. Well, what about the Egyptian captivity? That was 200-something years, right? What about Babylonian captivity? They don't mention that, right? They always want to link towards the Holocaust. So they mean to tell me that Hitler was far worse than Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar, by their definition, right? Okay, so let's really look at the Jewish community and see if their story really checks out. Let's go to Revelation 2 and 9.
All right, we're in the book of Revelations, chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan.
Okay, so let's go to Revelations 3, 8 and 9.
All right, the book of Revelations, chapter 3, verse 8. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
Okay, so in Revelation, Christ is saying that there's a group of people that are proclaiming to be Jews, but in actuality, they're lying. Okay, now let's get back to that anti-Semitic definition. Semites or Semitic people are descendants from Noah's son Shem. The words Semitic and Shemitic are interchangeable. Therefore, the definition for anti-Semitic as it is written is misleading. Okay. Someone can possibly be from Shem, but that doesn't mean that they're from Jacob. Okay, keep in mind, and we'll get into that a little later in the lesson, keep in mind those folks identify themselves as being Ashkenazi Jews. And we'll talk, like I said, we'll go into that in a second. Say again? Oh, yeah, we'll go into that in a second. All right, so Jacob is the direct father of who we know to be the Jews, not Shem. Okay? That's facts. Now, we're going to go further into these Jewish people, right? And these are facts that you can give people, right, if they have a problem with the understanding by us claiming to be the true Jews. Give them the facts that these Jewish people claim, all right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 7, 16 through 20.
All right. We're in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 16. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
Okay. Again, in Matthew, he says that you should know them by the fruit that he bears. Okay. In Psalms chapter 103, Psalms 147, and Romans 3, we see that the Most High only gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to Israel, right? The true Jews, okay, by way of Jacob. So the Jews should be identified by the fruit that it bears. Man, in general, will be identified by the fruit that it bears. So let's continue to see if this Jewish story checks out according to the scripture and historical facts. All right? The fruit should reflect, the fruit of a Jew, an Israelite, should reflect the law, statutes, and commandments, okay? In the same manner as who? Hamashiach, Christ, Yeshua, right? It should be self-evident in their lives. So let's see who Christ is talking about in Revelation. Well, we just read in Revelation. All right. You got it up there, man? Now, meet Benjamin Netanyahu, the current prime minister of the state of Israel, born in 1945 from secular Jewish parents. Secular Jewish parents. Secular Judaism comes from the philosophy of Moses Mendelssohn. Philosophy of Moses Mendelssohn. The ideals come from the principles of the Haskalah, which means enlightenment. And keep in mind, this is what these Jewish people believe. In recent years, the Enlightenment academic field of study has encompassed Jewish studies, history, literature, sociology, linguistics, with roots that trace back to the pre-modern era of the 1600s from the Dutch philosopher Baruch Spinoza, who was dubbed the renegade Jew, who gave us what we now see as modern Judaism. Okay, the Jewish population of Israel can be divided into three groups: Orthodox, traditional, and secular. The largest is the secular Jews, making up 41.4%. Traditional Jews accounting for 38.5%. All right, and let's see, and 20% of the population is the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox. Okay, now the Orthodox and the traditional are supposed to be the ones that you're seeing with the black hats on, right? Okay, they're supposed to be the representatives of the laws, statutes, and commandments. They're supposed to be the traditional Jewish people, right? Or the Jews, as they say. Okay, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 15, 9 through 13. Because something happened in ancient Israel, right? And the righteous kings took a stance against that. The righteous men of Israel did what they needed to be done and took a stand against that. Let's find out.
All right. We're in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 15, verse 9. And in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah. And 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Maacah, and daughter of Abishalom. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Most High, as did David his father. And he took away the Sodomites out of the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. And also Maacah, his mother, even her he removed from being queen.
He took his own mama out. That's standing for righteousness. Ma, I love you, but you got to go. Okay, keep going.
Because she had made an idol in a grove, and Asa destroyed her idol and burnt it by the brook Kidron.
Okay, so are the Orthodox and traditional Jews in modern day Israel enforcing the laws, statutes, enforcing the laws of the Most High like the kings did in ancient times? Okay, this is an article from the Tourist Guide. Okay, the Tourist Guide is a publication in modern day Israel. The title of this article is called Tel Aviv Gay Pride Parade. All right, it was of this year on June 8th, 2018. Read that.
All right. The Gay Pride Parade in Tel Aviv, Israel. The Israel Tel Aviv Gay Pride has become one of the biggest events of the year in Tel Aviv, with the city's gay community coming out in force to ensure that they and the many visitors who come from overseas have a great time and firm up the city's reputation as the gay capital of the Middle East, and perhaps one of the gay capitals of the world.
Okay. Now, if the ultra-Orthodox and the traditional Jews are the second and third largest population in Israel, why aren't they enforcing God's laws? You should know them by their fruits. Okay? Let's go to the Jerusalem Post. This is an article from February 23rd, 2016. Okay? It's titled, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu showed his support on the, what's that?
Knesset.
On the Knesset, first designated LGBT Rights Day. Okay, go ahead, take it.
All right. Netanyahu rarely appears in the legislature on Tuesdays, a day on which it usually does not hold any important votes. But he arrives specially to participate in LGBT Rights Day, during which discussions of the topic were held in the plenum and committees. The Prime Minister briefly addressed the plenum. I know that there were important and lengthy discussions today, and I came here in the middle of my schedule, which was no less busy, to say one sentence to the members of the LGBT community. Every man was created in the image of God. That is the idea brought by our nation to mankind thousands of years ago, and it is the principle that must guide our national lives today.
Okay. Now, honestly speaking, it can be said that it can be said that the African American community, the so-called African American, Native American, and Latino American, and along with everyone else worldwide who's an actual descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are doing the same thing. Okay. The truth be told, idolatry and homosexuality, and amongst all other things, have plagued our communities also, right? And that's the truth. However, the difference is that the majority of us don't know who we are. Okay? Not to excuse it, but the Most High did wink at our ignorance. That's scripture. That's why we need to continue to wake up our people, right? All right. So the difference is that the majority of us don't know who we are, or we don't know that we're the real Jews. If they are the Jews as they claim, then they're supposed to be doing what? What did we just read in Isaiah 49? If they are the Jews that they claim to be, right? And they're supposed to be showing who's supposed to be the Gentiles in their point of view, if they are the Jews. You understand? But they're not, and they don't. They rather promote the wickedness, okay? Going back to Jewish secularization, okay? That was something that was taught and researched, at many North American and Israeli universities, including Harvard, Tel Aviv University, UCLA, Temple University, and City University of New York. Okay, we'll stop right there, right? Because there was a time that Israel was supposed to be following the what? The law, statutes, and commandments, okay? What happened to the Torah and the Tanakh in modern-day Israel? Again, we know the truth, right? But our family may not. I mean, here we are. We just waking up 5, maybe 10 years ago to this truth saying that we the Jews, right? They had like a 70-year head start, right? So how are we the Jews? Well, let's just focus on how they are not the Jews, okay? So let's go to Colossians chapter 2, verse 8.
All right, we're in the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Through what?
Through philosophy and vain deceit.
That's what we're supposed to be looking out for, right? Philosophy, right? And vain deceit. Keep going.
After the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
Who they don't even acknowledge, okay? 1 Corinthians chapter 3, 18 through 20.
We're in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High.
And we see a bunch of fools in Israel teaching other fools on how to be more foolish. Okay? Keep going.
For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And again, the Most High knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain.
Okay. Now, those of us who've already been awakened can understand this, right? However, far too many of our friends and family don't. All right? Unfortunately, many of our folks that claim to follow Christ also have an incorrect understanding of Galatians 3:28, where it says that there's no more Jew or Greek, okay? So identity specifics don't matter. That's what they'll say. That's what our family will say. It don't matter because the Bible said it don't matter who's Jew or Greek. They're wrong, okay? One would have to read Galatians chapter 3 in its entirety to understand what Paul is saying in verse 28. Because when you look at verse 28, he also says that there's no bond and free and no male or female, right? So should we denounce our gender because of Christ? So they're reading it incorrectly, and they're reading it and they're listening to false prophets and teachers. Okay, being a Jew / Israelite is one from the bloodline descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It has nothing to do with the geographical location of an individual. So just because they're living in that area, that don't make them Jacob's kids. And we should know them by their fruits. Now let's consider the following. If Israel was a kingdom during biblical times, when did it become a state? You understand? If Israel was a kingdom, then why does it have a prime minister instead of a king today? Okay? So just hold on to those thoughts. We're going to take a look at Judaism's view of Christ. All right? You got it?
All right. In Judaism, Jesus is viewed as having been the most influential and consequently the most damaging of all false messiahs. They believe that the Messiah has not yet come and that the messianic age is not yet present. The total reflection of Jesus as either Messiah or deity has never been a central issue for Judaism. Judaism has never accepted any of the claimed fulfillments of prophecy that Christianity attributes to Jesus, and it also forbids the worship of a person as a form of idolatry.
Okay. It's funny because if the law, statutes, and commandments were only given to Jacob and the oracles only given to the Jews, then who are they to say what's idolatry or not? Who are they to say that? That's all they know is idolatry. And let's prove it. Let's go to one of their reality shows, something that I pulled up. This is fashioned after American Idol. It's called A Star is Born. You got that?
Yep. It's called the Kohav Nolad. It's an Israeli reality television show searching for talented new vocalists based on the British pop idol model. Since its debut on Israeli Channel 2 in 2003, the show has received great popularity and turned out many new musical artists. It aired between 2003 to 2012.
Now, y'all know what British Idol and American Idol is, right? That is idolatry in its highest form, okay? So let's go to another article on Huffington Post. We should know them by their fruits, right? Huffington Post article from January 24th, 2013. Idolatry. Keep going.
All right. A Jew-boo.
A Jew-boo. Check this out.
A Jew-boo refers to someone with a Jewish background who practices some form of Buddhism. It has been estimated that 30% of all Western Buddhists are of Jewish heritage, and many of the prominent Western Buddhist teachers were born Jews. Here are 2 out of the 5 reasons why Jews are attracted to Buddhist path.
Spirituality.
All right, spirituality. Many Jewish seekers find that the Judaism they grew up in lacked a spiritual component with which they could connect.
I wonder why. You can't find the Most High in the Talmud, which they read. There's no connection for it, but keep going.
While many Jews today can identify with the cultural, social, and historical aspects of Judaism, the spiritual dimension of many is significantly lacking.
Keep going.
The next one, God. Because Buddhism is non-theistic in nature, Jewish believers in God, as well as Jewish atheists and
Jewish atheists. Keep that in mind. Keep going.
As well as Jewish atheists and agnostics, can find a home in Buddhist practice without having to compromise or struggle against opposing belief systems.
They practice in Buddhism. Okay. Those are just a few examples of them not believing in their own doctrine that they claim to be Jews, right? They're the ones that's always crying anti-Semitic this, anti-Semitic that, right? They're the ones who Christ is talking about in Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, right? Okay, they claim to be against idolatry but have shows like British Idol and American Idol, okay? The Huffington Post reported that 30% of the Western Buddhists were Jewish, okay? And for the life of me, can anyone explain what a Jewish atheist is? Wouldn't that cancel out their whole existence? Jewish atheists. Exactly, from a bunch of morons. So, all right. Remember Isaiah chapter 49, right? It says that Israel is supposed to raise up Jacob, restore the preserved of Israel, and be a light to the Gentiles, right? Well, that can only be by using the commandments of the Most High in the same manner as who? As who? Christ, okay? let's look at what happened on May 14th, 1948. Okay? The question that comes up is, when did Israel switch from a monarchy that was governed by the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High to a democratic parliamentary government? All right? Israel was a kingdom. And when it split, it was still what? A kingdom. When did it become a state? So let's look at May 14th, 1948. According to the United States State Department website, it says that on May 14th, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, I think I said that right, the head of the Jewish agency, proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. Okay? U.S. President Harry S. Truman recognized the new nation as it says, on the same day. How can Israel be a new nation in 1948 when it dates back thousands of years? These are questions that you can give when you're given an understanding that they ain't the people. And this is why Christ said that. Okay? So let's look at when they stole their new nation and the current events that followed. In 1948, the 1948 Palestinian War refers to the war that occurred between former mandatory Palestine during the period between the United Nations vote on, what's that? The
partition.
The partition plan, excuse me. All right. It is the belief of many that when those so-called Jews went to Israel in 1948, it was the fulfillment of prophecy. They still believe that lie. So let's look at some of the prophecies. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 16 through 20.
All right, we are in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 16. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breast of kings. And thou shalt know that I, the Most High, am thy Savior, and thy Redeemer, the Mighty One of Jacob. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land.
Here's where it's key. Read that one more time.
Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders. But thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy power thy glory. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For the Most High shall be thine for everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended.
Let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, 1 through 4. While y'all finding that, I just want to bring up verse 18 again. It says, violence shall be no more heard in thy land. Okay? Now, they went in there with guns blazing. And guns are still blazing. All right? So who are they? All right?
There's, if you can go online and look at, like, pre-Palestine, prior to them coming in 1948, there are pictures there when they first came in with their scientists and their archaeologists. They didn't go with war first. They went to raid the land.
Smooth like butter.
But the pictures that they have of some of the Palestinians that were living there who, you know, come from like Lot and some of the other families that are from Abraham. Mm-hmm. And if you look at them, they are as dark as you with the same hair. Look exactly the same.
Looking like their father.
Looking like, exactly. But you can't find those people today. Those are the ones they will not put on TV.
Okay. Isaiah chapter 2, 1 through 4.
Isaiah chapter 2, verse 1. The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords unto plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Now that's when Christ returns, who they don't acknowledge. So in 1948, what took place was a lie. Okay? Now, again, we know this. We should know this. Our folks may not know this. They just looking at us crazy. Why y'all going to church on Saturday with your head covered? Y'all ain't no Jews. Well, if we ain't, then who is? You understand? So, let's find out who these people really are. I got this from a Russian publication called ZE Journal, right? It was put online February 2nd, 2016.
All right. Ashkenazim. Descendants of Ashkenaz, a non-Jew, Japhetite. Turkic explorers are tenacious. They have the talent to shape themselves. They first appeared in world history as the famous barbarian Scythians, or Skit, or by the name of Scadians. This name depends on the regional phonetic.
Okay. The Russians even know that they ain't the people. They called them Ashkenaz. Okay? So, according to the ZE Journal, a Russian publication, it says the following about the Ashkenazi Jews, all right? The Russians know who they really are. The article goes on to say that they feel the right to assume the identity based on their misinterpretation of Colossians 3:11, okay? However, the Ashkenazi Jews don't acknowledge Christ because of the practice of Judaism. They don't acknowledge the Messiah, okay? So how are they Israelites? How are they Israelites, okay? Well, let's ponder on that a little further. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10, verses 1 through 3.
All right, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. And the sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz.
Who?
And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Rephath, and Togarmah.
Okay. Japheth had a son named Gomer. Gomer had a son named Ashkenaz. What is an Ashkenazi Jew? A liar. It don't even make sense. You can't be a Jew from Jacob saying that you're from Ashkenaz. It don't make sense. It don't line up. It's not Shem. Shem, the father of who? The Israelites, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Japheth ain't their daddy. All right? You should know them by their fruits. Okay? This verses 4 and 5, same chapter.
Verses 4 and 5. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles.
By the isles of the who?
Where these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families in their nations.
Y'all got that? Okay. By those people were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands. Okay? Let's go to Genesis, one page over, chapter 11, 10 through 26.
We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 35 years, and begat Salah. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Salah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years, and begat Eber. And Salah lived after he begat Eber 403 years, and begat sons and daughters.
Whose house did we read that Jacob came, that he learned from? The house of who? Shem and Eber. Okay, keep going.
And Eber lived 430 years, and begat Peleg. And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Ru. And Peleg lived after he begat Ru 209 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Ru lived 230 years, and begat Serug. And Ru lived after he begat Serug 207 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and begat Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years, and begat Terah. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 130 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot.
Okay, so I was trying to find a place where Gomer was there in this line. Did y'all see it, or did we misread it? Okay, so Gomer's not in Shem, right? Nowhere to be found. Okay, Terah was Abraham's father. Abraham was Isaac's father. Isaac was Jacob's father. Okay, Jacob had a son, and Jacob had sons, and none of them were named Ashkenaz. Okay, not one. Ashkenaz was from Gomer. Gomer was from Japheth. Okay, simple ways to prove that. We got the history behind these people. We got what they're doing over there in the land of Israel, right? And we got the biblical facts about them, right? Okay. At this point in our walk, we should already know this. This is not groundbreaking information, but as I said earlier, most people are turned off when you, or like we said last week, most people are turned off when you go directly into the Bible. So look at current events like we talked about last week. How is it that Israel became a state all of a sudden when it was known as a kingdom? Why are they celebrating their 70-year birthday when it goes back thousands of years, supposedly? You understand? So, again, we should know them by their fruit. Now, that should be enough evidence to prove that the ones that are in the geographical location of Israel are not the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They don't fit the profile, okay? They never went through the struggles that Jacob went through. As a matter of fact, they were upset because Jacob got the blessing, all right? But he sold it. He sold the blessing, okay? Nobody forced him. Esau sold it. Now, the thing about Esau, when, just a little side note, after the blessing was received, Isaac and Rebekah told Jacob, do not go into the land of Canaan to get a wife. Go somewhere else. Go to the house of Laban to get your wife. Out of spite, Esau went to go get one of those crazy women from Canaan on purpose, out of spite. And he deliberately moved back in and told his wives to plague his mother and father, Isaac and Rebekah. That's how wicked Esau is. Now, I'm talking about Esau the person. I don't want to paint the picture that all people from Esau or Edomites are wicked and evil. I'm not painting that picture. I'm just saying that we should know them by their fruits. Okay? So, we understood that Jacob was born to bear the burden of adversity. We did that earlier. Jacob had to have an encounter with Christ, okay, to become Israel, the first Israelite, right? Now, let's turn the page again. Let's take a look at the real Israelite through Christ, okay? Because he's the key. He's the key. He's the one that Jacob encountered. He's the one that empowered Jacob. He's the one that strengthened us. And truth be told, he's the one that woke us up to this moment right here. You understand? So what does it mean to be an Israelite? Are you an Israelite? Okay? I thought I needed to say that before we start building ourselves up with nationalistic pride. Because once we identify, you know, it kind of does something, man. You ain't a Jew. You ain't a Jew. You ain't the real people. It does something to you. You know, that has its place, right? But let's look at some things. Let's go to Romans chapter 9, verse 1 through 3. It's a huge responsibility, not to be taken lightly. Let's go to Romans chapter 9, verse 1 through 3.
All right, we're in the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 1. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
Okay, so just to give some understanding on that, and the brother went through it 2 weeks ago. Paul is saying that his heart is heavy, and he wishes to be accursed from Christ, okay, for his brothers according to the flesh. Taking a look at that closer, let's get some understanding on that when we go to Exodus chapter 32, 30 through 32.
All right, we're in the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 30. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, Ye have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moses returned unto the Lord, and said, O this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
This is essentially what Paul was saying in Romans chapter 9, verse 1 through 3. It says that I wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren's sake, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. That's the same thing that Moses was talking about, because at this time that Paul was writing this, we were all over the place, right? Con? Y'all there? All right. So let's go back to Romans chapter 9, verse 4 through 6.
All right, we're in the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory of the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High, and the promises?
Okay, so Paul is talking to, he wished that he was accursed for his brother's sake, who were Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, which we just read, because he's not dealt so with any other nation, right? Verse 5.
Whose are the fathers, and of whom are concerning the flesh Christ came, who is over all, the Most High blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of the Most High have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel.
Now, that's key right there. Are you an Israelite? Are you an Israelite? Let's go to Maccabees and get some examples. First Maccabees chapter 1, 11 through 15.
All right, we're in the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Now, these were Israelites, right? And what did they do? Made a covenant with the who? With the heathen that are round about us. Keep going.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
Now, an Israelite convinced other Israelites to do this. Okay? So it's not so much the bloodline, is it? All right? Let's get another example. Let's go to chapter 2, First Maccabees chapter 2, 1 through 7.
All right, First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the son of Jerob, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Donanan, called Caddis, Simon called Thasi, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar called Everon, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apphus. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Okay,
so who delivered it? Remember, the enemy was camped out round about. Who let him in? All right, so we get into some things about Israel, about our people. Our brother Mattathias had a heart for his people, right? And it grieved him to see the conditions that we had succumbed to. It seriously bothered him that he was born to see the misery of his people, okay? And his once holy city overran with strangers that hated him and the upright traditions of his people. He reached the boiling point, okay? And he decided to take a stand even at the expense of the lives of fellow Israelites. Now, I'm not advocating that, obviously, okay? Because that's going against a commandment, all right? However, we need to mark brothers and sisters who say that they're Israel, but ain't acting like an Israelite should. Okay, so let's go finish this out at let's go to chapter 2, still 17 through 27.
Verse 17. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in the city, and strengthened with sons and brethren.
See, he trying to hit him with the buttery words. Y'all see that, right? They ain't got no new tricks. Keep going.
Now therefore come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain in Jerusalem, so shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. I forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
Now that's the same thing that Abraham told Isaac. Don't veer from it from the right or to the left. Keep going.
Now, when he was left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was in Modin, according to the king's commandment.
We always got one. We always got one. Always going to have one. Keep going, man.
Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of the Most High, like as Phinehas did with Zambri and the son of Salom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
So that's the type of zeal that we should have as Israelites for the laws, for God's law, for God's righteousness. However, we need to look at our big brother Christ to see how to implement those laws, statutes, and commandments. Not in the same way as the Pharisees, right? But in that same way that Christ did, okay? All Israel obviously ain't Israel, right? All Israelites, even though they could be from Jacob, you should know them by their fruits also, okay? Some of us could take that statement, all Israel ain't Israel. That statement can possibly have different meanings. Some of us could take our heritage on simply keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, all right, like the Pharisees did, right? That's all they did, right? Some of us know that we are the children of Jacob, but don't acknowledge Christ. How? It really doesn't make sense. There are Israelites, blood Israelites, out of Jacob, won't acknowledge the Messiah, okay? Now, let's go to some simple scriptures or familiar scriptures, all right? Well, before we do that, I do want to make the point, and as I said earlier, without Christ, you could pretty much void your Israelite membership, okay? Because without him, without the Messiah, it's nothing. It's void. You can't go to the altar with your bulls or your rams. It won't happen, okay? So without Christ, it's in vain. When we consider what took place in Genesis chapter 32, Jacob had to meet who? Christ. And we're no different, okay? So let's go to John 14:6. Let's get some confirmation from the Messiah. Hamashiach.
All right, we're in the book of St. John, chapter 14, verse 6. Yeshua saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
There is no other way. There is no other way. He's the only way to do it. Okay? Let's go to St. John chapter 10, verse 1 through 8.
The book of St. John chapter 10, verse 1. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Yeshua unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them. Then said Yeshua unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers.
Okay, keep going.
But the sheep did not hear them.
Now, as we said earlier, as the scripture said earlier, he's the way, the truth, and the life, right? Nobody gets to the Father unless they go through Christ, period, point blank, okay? Any denomination or group that we were involved with prior to us finding out the truth were thieves and robbers, okay? Any denomination that's outside of the truth, and that includes Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, whatever, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever, non-denominational, whatever it is, if it's not lining up with what the scripture says, because none of those denominations existed during the time of Christ, not one. So anything that we were involved with prior to us being called, and we were called because his sheep know his voice. This is a personal thing. This is personal. Whether it been from Brothers on the Corner, whether it been from YouTube, however you found out this truth, it was a personal calling on us as individuals. And we heard his voice, okay? And we realized something ain't right. Let's find out what this Bible is really saying. Some of us were out in the streets literally prior to. Some of us were at the club a couple of years before. I know I was. Playing church before that, but now, who knew that I would be in this position? I didn't, but I heard something. We heard something, right? We heard his voice. So anything prior to that were robbers and thieves. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10, 1 through 8.
All right. We're in the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 1. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
Read that one more time.
And when he had called unto him
when he had called his 12 disciples, keep going.
To his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease.
Once we come out of that water, once we've been called and come out of that water, we have that same power also. So now we have a purpose as being Israelites, which links up to raising up Jacob and being the light to the Gentiles. Y'all follow me? That's our mission. We have this power to give him power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, to heal how many manners of sickness? All manners of sickness and all manner of disease. That's what we have. And he didn't give that to any other nation initially. To the Jew first, then the Gentiles. It has to come through the Jew first, Israelites, then the Gentiles. If we line up with who? Not just our bloodline coming from Isaac and Jacob, but through the Messiah. Y'all follow me? Keep going.
Verse 2. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. The first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, James, the son of Zebedee.
Jump down to verse 5.
Jumping to verse 5. These 12 Yeshua sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not.
Now, that's not to exclude them, but how can you go to the other nations when you can just go right here in this parking lot or throughout any four corners of the city where we need help? Our brothers and sisters need some help. They need some truth. They need some light. They need to know the way, right? That's on us. That's on us. Keep going.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give.
Okay. As I said before, we may have come from traditional Baptists or AME Zion or whatever, Jehovah's Witnesses. All of them were what? Thieves and robbers. Those are not my words. That's what Christ said, right? And like I said before, it was Christ that called us out, just like he called the 12. We ain't no different. Just like he called the 12, we're no different than that. We heard his voice. And we're required to do what he did according to his doctrine. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 6, 1 through 3.
All right. We are in the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 1. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Christ, let us go on unto perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works, and of faith toward the Most High, of the doctrine of baptisms, and of the laying of hands.
Keep going.
And of resurrection of the dead.
Keep going.
And of eternal judgment.
Now, where the resurrection of the dead, it's a lot of walking dead brothers and sisters out there. Literally. I mean, you see, it's so sad. You remember when we was out there in Southeast, bro? I mean, in that park, or when we was out there in Baltimore, you know, and it's just so many areas where this opioid epidemic and drug epidemic has just taken over and zombified our people. If it's not for drugs, it's through social media and technology, where people can't give you eye contact because they're so engulfed or wrapped in how many likes they're getting, or paying attention to so much drama on Facebook and Instagram and whoever else is out there. Dead. You ask them about some things that matter, they know if not. We're in some real serious times right here. You know, we touched on it again. We touched on it a little bit last week. Christ said, look for certain things, right? So pretty soon that sky gonna crack. Now, I don't know the day nor the hour, but he did give us things to look for prior to that happening. Now, in the meantime, it's a lot of sick brothers and sisters out there that don't know the truth. Now, whether they accept it or not, that's, you know, between them and the Most High. But our job as Israelites is to do what? To show them the way, to be that light. Y'all follow me? To laying on of hands, to resurrect the dead, baptize, and tell them about the eternal judgment. That's the doctrine of Christ. Y'all follow me? This is our duty as being Israelites. This is our duty as being members of the body of Christ. To who first? To the Jew first, then the Gentile. Okay? As I said before, or as we said before earlier, it's more to just being an Israelite than just coming to the gathering. And coming to the gathering and wearing the fringes is good, but the thing about the fringes, and I'm not knocking them because I got them, I wear them, I rock them. But the thing about fringes, if that's what you find your righteousness at, then what was the whole purpose of the Most High saying wear fringes in the first place? To remind us of something that we violated. You understand? So, rep your heritage, but know what it's really for. Just wanted to put that out there right quick. We have to be like Christ, and we have to teach Christ. That's what we have to do. The Pharisees were Israelites, and we know how Christ felt about them. If not, add to your homework assignment Matthew 23. Okay? We know how Christ felt about the Pharisees. They lived and died by the law. Okay? They found justification by living according to the laws only, right? The laws, not the commandments, but the laws only. What was the purpose of the laws? Let's get some understanding. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 1, 8 through 10. The law has a purpose, and the law is good. We'll find that out in a second. Keep going.
All right, we're in the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 8. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man.
Say what?
Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man.
So who is it made for? Keep going.
But for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine.
Now, you could parallel this with Galatians. I'm not saying go there, but you could parallel this to the acts of the flesh that's in Galatians chapter 5, 19 through 20. Okay? They line up side by side. So, an honest assessment of yourself, if you still find yourself dealing with certain areas of the flesh, then you need to be mindful of the laws. Okay? You understand? Y'all follow that? Okay. However, if you're not dealing with that area, and that's our goal, because we were told to be perfect like Christ, right? I mean, perfect like the Most High, right? Using the example of Christ, right? We were told to be blameless. So there should come a time where we shouldn't be counted in this category altogether. That's our goal. Y'all follow me? That's our mission. Perfection. Perfecting. Ongoing process. Renewing your mind to believe that it can happen. Knowing that you experience a moment of perfection right now. So it can be done. Y'all follow me? Come on. So if we're teaching the laws, if we're teaching just, or if we're just teaching the laws instead of the laws through Christ, then we're teaching it to become a moral authority over someone. If you're always going around talking about the law, this, the law, that, then beating them over the head, you need to follow the laws, and you need to follow this, you need to follow that. And it can become a point to where you're just trying to exercise dominance over them because you know something and they don't. That's not the spirit of Christ. You understand? Christ is the Son of God, the Most High, a higher. All power was given to him, right? But how did he carry himself? You understand? That says something about his character. And that says something that about the goal that we need to move towards. You understand? We can't, I mean, the law does have its purpose. It identifies where the sin is, right? But there's another part to just that law, okay? Let's go to Acts chapter 2, 36 through 42.
All right. We're in the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 36. Therefore let all the house of Israel know assuredly that the Most High have made that same Yeshua whom ye have crucified, both Lord and Christ. Now when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart, and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, Men and brethren, what shall we do? Then Peter said unto them, Repent, and be baptized every one of you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach for the remission of sins, and ye shall receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. For the promise is unto you and to your children, and to all that are afar off, even as many as the Lord our power shall call. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, Save yourselves from this untoward generation. Then they that gladly received his word were baptized, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine,
which is the doctrine of Christ. Keep going.
And fellowship, and in breaking of bread, and in prayers.
Jump back up to verse 36 one more time.
Jumping back to 36. Therefore let all the house of Israel know assuredly that the Most High have made that same Yeshua, whom ye have crucified, both Lord and Christ.
Peter is preaching to the people. Peter's putting the word out there. Keep going.
Now when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart, and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, Men and brethren, what shall we do?
Look, that brought a moment of conviction. Conviction brings change. When you're going around talking about the law this, the law that, and you going to hell, and you going to hell, and you going to hell, that's condemnation. Conviction, change. Condemnation, blames. All right? Just like we were convicted and we were changed. Okay? I can honestly look back at my life and say, look and identify a lot of areas where I still need to be fixed and working on that, because perfecting with that ing is an ongoing process. Okay? However, I'm no longer Jeffrey from 1990 something. All right? Now, I can see where change took place because my heart was convicted. Now, that's the change that all of us probably can identify with. That's how we need to go approach our brothers and sisters. You know, we've all have different backgrounds of what we all came up through. Some of it tragic, some of it ultra tragic, right? And the Most High will put people in front of you. Talk to that brother. Talk to that sister. It happens all the time. You can identify with probably what they're going through. You know? It all stems from three things: the pride of life, lust of the eye, and lust of the flesh. So that's how Satan always attacks, through those three avenues. So it's always going to link up to one of those three. Help them. Let them know what the word is saying. Let them know who they are. Use the doctrine of Christ. You understand? Laying on of hands. Sometimes that just means holding hands, being there, compassion. Show them that compassion. Show them that love. Let them understand that you actually care. This world is waxing worse and worse. They probably need somebody that actually cares. A hug can go a long way. You understand? When you're really going through it. Sometimes you ain't got to say nothing. You just got to be there. That's part of that doctrine of Christ. You understand? And it's not soft. I mean, yeah, we go out there in certain areas of the neighborhood. We street preaching, and, you know, we got to put on the front because some areas are, but overall, we need to show them through love. And acting like Christ, showing the fruits of the Spirit, is not soft. Look at what Jacob did. Prayed when he saw trouble. And once you read, I guess I'm telling the story, but once you read chapters 29 through 32, you'll see when he prayed and the Most High sent 2,000 angels to fight his battle. Now that's power. It's not so much with how many guns you could buy or anything like that, or how well you could throw your hands up. It's about who's protecting you. You understand? Through your obedience, though. That's the condition. Okay? Just wanted to put that out there right quick. Let's go to, as I said before, the apostles' doctrine is also the doctrine of Christ, which was spoken of during the days of Moses, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18 through 15. Moses spoke about Christ, and the doctrine of Christ was spoken about also by Moses. Deuteronomy 18, pick it up at verse 15.
We're in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 15. The Most High thy power will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, unto him ye shall hearken.
Okay, go to Deuteronomy 32, verses 1 and 2. Because when the scriptures say that ain't nothing new under the sun, it means just that. The doctrine of Christ, yeah, it was manifested through Christ's walk and ministry on earth, but it's been around for a while. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32, verses 1 and 2.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 1. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop.
My what?
My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass.
Y'all see that, right? It's been around for a minute, okay? So it's through this doctrine that we as Israelites are to go throughout the four corners, right, and be a light. It's not going to be easy. It's not, because let's find out. Go to Matthew chapter 10, 16 through 22.
All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 16. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves.
That just sounds dangerous. But here we are. Keep going.
Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles.
Keep going.
But when they deliver you up,
real quick, does it say if or when?
But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour that ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that endureth unto the end shall be saved.
It's going to happen. Once you start representing the true Messiah, because I'm familiar with Jesus, right? And I've never been persecuted for talking about Jesus. Nobody's ever told me to shut up or put the Bible away when I talked about Jesus. Everybody loves Jesus. But when I started speaking about Yeshua, his name, and for his name's sake, people start looking at you different. They start hating on you. Oh, here you go with that Bible again. Oh, I remember when you wasn't like this. I remember this. I remember that. Your family, you start to do the same thing that Jacob went through. It was Jacob's family that brought him trouble. You understand? For his name's sake. So we've been tasked to be that light. But don't be deceived. It's not going to be an easy road. But we can handle it if we're connected to our true power. Most High, by way of Christ. Ahaya Ba'ashem Yeshaya. Y'all feel? Okay. That's the word. Are you an Israelite? And let's prove it according to Christ. Amen. Shalom.